Streaming. Now we're streaming. See, I think I can see everything I need to see from OBS, but I don't have access. I can't see how many people are watching. So let's see. I'm going to tweet or post on X. Oh my God. You see they had Elon Musk had to take the big glowing X sign off the roof after like less than a week.
Wait, off the roof of what?
Twitter headquarters. He built a giant glowing X that looked kind of like a Burning Man thing because it looked like it was made out of trash. And it was strobing like incredibly bright light into like the windows of all the people who lived in the condos across the street. And it was just being held up by like sandbags. And so like after like less than a week, they had like over 20 like building code violations that needed to be addressed. Otherwise, they were going to have to shut down the building. So he's like, okay, fine.
That just sounds so hilarious. I mean, of the things that I've heard, that sounds like the most believable of everything that I've ever heard. Because that sounds like the most redneck thing.
Redneck?
Yeah, just like, if it works, you know, it ain't stupid.
Yeah, it's like... It definitely did happen because like there was photos of the X going up and videos of it shining in people's condos and stuff. So I don't think there's any question that like it happened. But yeah, and then the X is now gone. RIP X.
Mm-hmm.
And you know when I first saw all this like pivot to X stuff, everybody was like fully convinced that it was just a troll and that it was going to go away, like that he was just like messing with everyone to show that how like a lot of Elon supporters were like saying how they were it was just him proving that people are going to like get on his shit about everything. Hey Jay's in the chat on Twitch. But yeah, they were saying how it was basically just like a clever troll to get people to show that people were going to like criticize him about anything, and that like he's just messing with them to like, you know, create marketing attention. But here we are. You know, the whole website seems to be slowly. Yeah, the website no longer says tweet. It does say post on it now. So that's fucked.
Yeah, it does sound like things are going to change.
Because it still says. Oh, sorry.
Say tweet for you.
No, it still says join Twitter. Like when the homepage says.
Yeah, they're finding all the places where it says Twitter on it and like removing them kind of one at a time, like piecemeal.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't think anybody really expected that to happen. I actually expected this to happen though, because like when he absorbed the Twitter company into X back like I think it was last year or whatever, I was like, well, rip Twitter. I mean, it's over. The company Twitter doesn't exist, and it's only a matter of time before he rolls out his dumb X brand. And everyone was like, no, they're not going to do that. That'd be the dumbest thing in the world for somebody to do.
Is it related to SpaceX, or is that different?
No. SpaceX is related to X. So like,
and X is what PayPal used to be, or what?
Yeah, well, he has this idea that X is like the greatest brand name ever, and that it's going to take over the financial system, communications, everything.
So does it have like a hub anywhere, or is Twitter like the new hub of X?
Twitter is the hub of X. So
right.
X as a brand stopped existing when the board voted to kick him out of PayPal back in the day when he tried to rebrand PayPal as X. And he's been holding on to that for 20 years, and now he's like he's about to like try to create this sort of multifaceted brand of X, and it's got its space division and all these other things. And so theoretically, all the other companies are going to get an X rebranding, maybe. Who knows? I couldn't imagine him rebranding Tesla as Car X, but I don't think it's off the table.
When he bought Twitter, does that mean are there not other shareholders in Twitter who are like fighting, who would want to, fight back against that? Does he get?
No, he bought their shares. Like, he is the majority shareholder of Twitter.
He's the sole owner now.
Well, he's the majority shareholder, meaning he gets the final say so.
So there's no one really that. So he has. So he has like ultimate, like power there.
Yes.
Well, something I was going to say was someone that I do follow, the Everyday Astronaut. Apparently, Twitter now supports like long form posting with monetization, so that's interesting. I don't know how well that's going to hold up, but it exists now.
Yeah, well, I mean, short form posting. If you get over 15 million impressions in your replies, like per month, then you get qualified to be able to make money off of posts. So for a minute, it was like only his like hand-picked like favorites that got access to it, and now everyone has access to it. Which I get for an artist, I get a lot of like reaction on Twitter. So I thought, I wasn't sure what my numbers were, but I looked into it, and I do not qualify. You have to be fully fucking Twitter brained in order to be able to have access to monetization from ads.
Yeah, I figured.
Which makes sense. I mean, it's like if this were YouTube, I feel like, at the size that I'm at, 120,000 followers or whatever, that I would be able to like make some money off of it. Off of the ads, but like not with Twitter/X or whatever. It's just
It's what was the phrase, like red watered?
I have no idea. I've never heard that term before.
Red ocean. That's what it was.
Red ocean? Yeah, maybe.
So red ocean versus blue ocean. Like red ocean is like the competition is steep and everyone's like attacking each other like sharks. And blue ocean and things are more calm.
The
and
dark
more people
forest.
can, like share. Yeah, more people can like share in the bounty. So like red ocean is like more of that. It's aggressive. It's tough. Like you have to be the best of the best in order just to stay alive.
Coffees for closes. I just showed my wife Glenn that clip of that whole monologue from Glengarry Glen Ross. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. It's Alec Baldwin screaming at a bunch of salesmen for like 10 minutes straight. And it's full of these iconic quotes that are just incredible. If I were not an art streamer, I would put it up because it's just like I love this clip. But yeah, look up Gary Glen Ross, like Alec Baldwin, or Coffees for Closers. Yeah, he has this catchphrase. He says, A, always B, B, C, closing. I just love that. It's like the most brain dead, stupid acronym ever. It's like B stands for B. Like that's the mnemonic. But yeah, it's just like the most annoying, most toxic guy in the universe, just screaming at a room full of middle-aged men that they're all a bunch of losers and they should be better at selling real estate. It's incredible. And it's like I want to have a class at Ringling where I teach sales, and I want to start the class off by playing them this clip and be like, so this is what everyone in the world thinks sales is. Like, I want you all to know that this is here. We need to be, if you're ever going to be able to break loose of this and ever do a good job in sales and marketing, number one thing is you need to like understand that this mindset exists and like actively make sure that you don't fall into it, like, because it's just like incredibly stupid. But it's the sort of default understanding of what it means to like do sales, is to like be some sweaty middle-aged man in some call center somewhere dialing to try to like get housewives to buy overpriced real estate. You know, that like you have to, you know, you don't get the good leads because you're shit, and they would be wasted if you got the good leads. But like it's so fun to watch because it's like so absurd, but it's like, you know, it's also the way that we understand the world. Like, we believe that like the world of sales is like this incredibly like toxic space run by Alec Baldwin's.
Well, I mean, there might be a slight amount of precedent for that, just because most of the only salespeople that regular people interact with are either like car salesmen, when that was still like
still
really
a thing.
toxic
No, still
there.
very much a thing. I've bought a car in the last couple of years. I got to tell you, car salesmen are still car salesmen. This dude had the biggest watch I'd ever seen. But I had also done a bunch of research into watches in the last few years. And so I was like, yo, this guy's got the biggest, most ostentatious watch I've ever seen on a person. He was one of these guys that looked like maybe he was a high school athlete like 40 years ago. So he had these like is this big guy with these really thick wrists, and he had this like giant like gilded watch on, but it was also cheap as shit. Like, you couldn't if you knew what you were looking, if like you didn't know what you were looking at, you were thinking this guy's got the biggest, most baller watch in the universe. And if you know what you're looking at, you just go like, this dude has the largest, shittiest watch I've ever seen in my entire life. And he was just lying to us over and over and over again. It was like, looking back on the experience, I realized that like, had I just assumed every single thing he was saying was a lie, I would have probably gone through the better reaction, like the interaction better, because like, yeah, I should have just presumed everything he told us was a lie instead of sort of giving him the benefit of the doubt as an expert who knew Ford trucks better than I knew it, you know? But yeah, no, the slimy salesman is still alive and well in America. I can attest to it personally. You know, but I mean, he's also this guy is also a product of his incentives, you know. So I wouldn't say it's like I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm just saying that the incentives in sales are there to be able to produce that guy right now. You know, some companies are out there trying to mint more of these people.
So, as far as like the topic for today, do we have anything planned?
Topic for today in terms of what?
Because I saw a post here in the or where was it?
Oh, I am going to do there's a waiting room for stream. Who set this up? So these people that want to pop in, I can invite them in. Do you want to actually? You know, I'm supposed to be drawing. Do you want to invite up people who are in the waiting room for stream?
See, I need to.
And I'm going to say in the chat here, if you do the Discord command, you get a link to the Discord. This is where we're hanging out and chatting from. This is the Huckleberry Discord server. We're doing daily art challenges. I want to. Hey, thank you, Ella Nano, for the fucking Prime sub. You are my number one, very first sub in the history of my channel. So huge thanks to you.
Okay.
That's cool. I just made like $2.50 or whatever on the stream. Very first dollars I've ever gotten from Twitch. Not bad. But yeah. So a bunch of people are coming in here to come and hang out with us.
I'm still trying to figure out how to do the roles.
You click on a person's name, and then under where it says no roles, there's a little plus sign. Do you have the access to that?
Oh, okay. Let's see. No, I do not have a plus sign under that.
Oh.
By the no roles.
Let me make sure that big brains have the ability to affect roles. Because it would
And
be
then
great
I would
to
just
get
put it
along
in
with
the
this.
invite to stream, right?
Yeah, invite
Or
to
whatever
stream.
it was called.
Okay.
Okay.
This whole process might get completely upended at some point, but we don't have any process in place. We're figuring it out. Permissions. You should have you already have manage roles.
Really?
Yeah, really. So if you
Okay. Well,
let me check one more thing when it comes to the roles. Yeah, should be fine.
add no message call. Because there is a button that says move to live on Twitch.
Oh, you can don't right click, just left click on them to bring up their profile pane. What has their name and the roles and stuff.
Yeah, it's just giving me a blink. Right here. I think this is what it looks like. Boop.
Is it in chat? Where did you
Yeah.
boop?
Yeah, I booped it in the Twitch chat.
Are you sure it's in the Twitch chat?
Live on Twitch? Oh, no, live on, not Twitch chat. Oh my goodness.
Live on Twitch? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, live on Twitch.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I see. Man, that's so weird. I don't know why it's not working. Well, so I need to do it.
What's happening? You need to add the.
I need to add the stream. Hey, Adam. I need to add the stream room invite role to people.
I can. It looks like I can do that.
I don't know why Omega can't.
Do I like everyone who's in the waiting room for stream? You want me to just add the role?
Add anyone that you either recognize their name or somebody who's DMing you and saying, "Hey, there's something I want to talk about."
At Twitter,
So you'd be adminning
Right.
it to move people into the room or out of the room, depending on whether or not.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but hey, welcome everyone. This is a. We're just getting started this month on streaming. I am. We've got a lot of basics set up, but we're still working out the exact orientation for everything. And so the idea here is that I have been doing studies every work day, and then some days even on the weekends, just because I've enjoyed the hell out of it. And I'm inviting anybody to come and do the same thing as me, which is to go ahead and do some photo studies, just to try to get better at art. And I want to be able to answer people's questions. If you don't have any art experience at all, this is still an activity that you can participate in. I do it for about an hour or two every weekday. I'm going to be doing it Monday through Friday, and starting at around noon Eastern is the plan. And I'm really hoping that some people want to join in and learn along with me. And then any questions that you have along the way, I'm going to be available here on screen to answer questions and do demos and stuff. So if you want to come onto the Discord and contact any of the big brains we've got there, they should be able to get you up on stage with me to be able to get your questions asked and have me do demos for you and all sorts of things like that. So Adam, are you able to give people the role?
I believe so. Yeah. Is there anybody who wants to come up on stage?
Well, I think the people who are in the waiting room for stream are currently in that. And so if you go ahead and make some choices based off of whatever criteria you feel are appropriate, and we'll figure it out together.
Let's go in alphabetical
It's
order.
just the first week, too.
Yeah, we can bring a couple people up at a time also.
Okay, so Ace Belmont now has the streaming room invite role, so they should be able to join the live on Twitch channel. Is that how this works?
Yeah, you'd probably want to DM them and say you've got the role now.
All right.
Because they can't hear us right now. They're in another room. Unless they probably should have the Twitch audio up, but I don't know if they do or not.
Right.
So that does give me a little question, just in my mind, is...
Because we can theoretically allow anybody in, and then we can just have the role allow them to have speaking access.
So Toilet I asked if, how does Pete plan on handling the hair texture?
The hair texture. Oh, all this stuff up here. I have no idea, man. I mean,
let's just wait and see.
Yeah, we'll wait and
We'll talk
see.
about
It's
it.
I didn't start doing studies until like a couple months ago. And so I have like a folder full of reference images that I've taken for other kinds of other projects. And, some of them are ones where I'm like, I don't know how I would repaint that. But like the challenge of having to figure that out and like make those choices is sort of the point. It's like one of the points of all this. So I'm just going to try to like sketch out, get the values of it generally right, get the silhouette of it generally right, and then I'm going to work it up bit by bit. But I want to get some sort of rough values, and I want to get all of my landmarks squared away first. Then I'm going to block in the background and start carving in some details, start finding some notes of color I want to add, and then maybe look at some like broader color. But we'll get into that over the course of the next hour, I think. But as it is right now, the problems I'm running into is I'm jumping ahead a little bit on my values because I have been pretty good recently about trying to get all of my landmarks and all the proportions and stuff figured out first. And this is like a very oddly proportioned model with a really odd head pose. So she's got like an insanely long neck, and she's slumping her shoulders forward in a weird way, which is throwing off like a lot of my intuitive understanding of like the. She also has like a really pointy chin, and it's all kind of throwing off my like intuitive understanding of the proportions. And so I'm looking over at this thing, I'm looking back at mine, and I'm just like, man, mine looks crazy bad. But not just because it's unfinished, but because it's sort of out of proportion. And so I'm going to try to like see if I can kind of push that back into shape a little bit without having to cheat. And if I can't get it, I'm going to cheat a little bit and make sure that I get it done. And with that done, I can move on to the next steps.
What do you mean by cheat? You mean
the way I'm cheating is like just by flipping. I have this, because I have both of the images at the same resolution, I can flip them back and forth and see in the navigator like how far off I am on certain things. And so
why do you choose to paint or to block it in rather than just sketch like with line art?
I'm sometimes doing something that is a little bit more like a sketch, but like generally I don't really care about having clean line art. Like clean line art doesn't feel like it does a lot for me.
Well, I don't mean like to keep it there. I just mean like
well, it's an expense to try to spend time working on clean line art.
Right.
And I'd be penning over it anyway. So what I really need is to make sure that like all of my my landmarks are in place without necessarily needing a sketch specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like if somebody wants to do this for themselves at home, what I recommend is that you grab something from your reference folder, or maybe go find something on Pinterest really quick that you think is a cool image. Landscape, photography, a painting that you like, it doesn't really matter. Put it up in Photoshop or Krita or whatever you got, and then in the layout on the second window, put the reference on the left and then a blank canvas on the right that's about the same proportion, and see if you can replicate it in about an hour. And you can use whatever method you want. I don't have like a really great method for this. I've definitely been developing some preferences over the course of doing like 30 of these. But I mean, my goal is to maybe have something that I feel really confident in and like some interesting options once I get to about 100 of them. So I wouldn't say that there is like, didn't come into this with like a really established method that I learned from school or from somebody else who's like an expert at studies. I'm really just trying to find the path of least resistance for myself to develop my own process for it. And like every single day I want to challenge myself to maybe mix up that process about 10%. To try out new ideas, whether they're color things or texture things, different brushes, different ways of using layers, different ways of using blending modes. All of it is potentially very interesting from the perspective of learning, because I don't really I'm not going to be posting these anywhere outside of the Discord. These are for my own enjoyment and education. And that's why I want to invite other people to do it, because it's like, it's really stressful to try to make a piece of art that you have there's like big stakes on, like, hey, is this going to be a portfolio piece? Is this going to be like my shot at painting my vision I've had in my head forever? Instead, it's like, hey, this is going to be an hour. It's not even, I don't even need to make up what the image is going to be. All I need to do is challenge myself to try on some new things and to see how good I am at like some really, really basic technical skills. And I think anybody can jump into that. And even if you have zero experience, you're just going to find all the ways in which art is hard. And it's going to, maybe like, it's going to be an interesting challenge. And if you want to, if you find yourself really, really struggling with it, but want to get better at it, and then you are like entering into that conversation of like, hey, what do I need to do to actually get better at art? What are these skills that I'm missing? And like from there you can join along with the community to learn some of these skills and like level up and try to do this day by day. I'm going to be on here 5 days a week trying it out. You can come try it out along with me and just reserve this time as your personal educational time if you want. And, during this time, I'm going to be available here to answering questions. So if anybody has any questions, let's see. Everyone's still in the other room. I'm change.
I'm getting some messages from people. Like a lot of people in the waiting room and in chat are thinking it's portfolio review day. So I think.
Is it portfolio review day? Did I screw up the days on it? Oh yeah. We're gonna have portfolio review
today.
It is today.
Yeah.
Okay. Event. Lecture hall starting soon. Oh, was it supposed to start right now? Like it was supposed to start 20 minutes ago?
Yeah.
Okay. I had my days mixed up. All right, Let's start with that. So instead of doing studies right now, we are going to go into portfolio review. So we're going to start that, and I am going to move this over to the lecture hall. Thanks for pointing that out. Hey, everyone. Okay. I got my dates and times mixed up, and I didn't realize that right now is the portfolio review time. I was like, man, people from Twitch are really excited to watch me do studies today, and it's like I'm so super fucking stoked for this. But it turns out, nope, I'd made other promises to you guys, and so we're gonna do that. And so the way that's going to work is you are able to raise your hand to come on the stage. If you have your portfolio in the portfolio submissions section on the Discord, go ahead and raise your hand. And if I select your portfolio, I'm going to bring you up on stage and we can chit chat and I'll talk to you about your portfolio. How does that sound? All right. There are so many really good ones and I haven't pre-qualified these. So, Red Coyote, are you here? See, I need to sort of dip between two different screens here to be able to do this. Red Coyote, yeah, you got your hand raised. Let me pull you up. Hey there, how's it going?
Hello? Oh, cool.
All right.
Good.
So you were the first one to post in this thing, so I'm just gonna like give you preferential treatment for being fast, but then I'm gonna qualify the next choices a little bit more specifically. Let me pull up what you got right here. Andrew Morris. We talked before.
We did, because
We did.
I think you forgot to send out a notification, and so it was just you and me. So.
Well, it wasn't I forgot to pull out a notification. I mean, you were just joining me on an early Discord stream or like on the Angelarium community space.
Yeah.
And then we got to talk a little bit about that. How have you been? Like, what have you done since we last talked?
I've done a few things. It's been kind of a little bit slow just because of I've had a lot of I work full time for an environmental company, so I'm like nonprofit, so I'm just like doing that and doing this on top of it.
Well, it looks like you've gotten quite a few pieces done in just the last few months since I talked with you. I mean, you've gotten 4 of them posted on ArtStation, right? So at least like a piece a month.
Yeah, and I just finished an illustration Sunday. I didn't. It's not on my ArtStation yet, but I was going to upload it here if you want to look at that too.
No, I want to look at what you got on the ArtStation right now. So,
Okay.
yeah, I just wanted to glaze over that really quick because it's like, hey, like a lot of people feel like they're not getting as much done as they want, but somebody with like a full-time thing going on that's non-art related, you're producing a painting a month, even though you're not like a professional artist. It's totally doable for somebody who really loves making art. So I just wanted to hang that out there for anybody who needed to hear it.
Thank you.
Like, so what's been your experience over the last few months of painting? Like, what's on your mind? What are you concerned about? What do you want to know about?
Mainly just, I think a big sticking point seems to be lighting and perspective is definitely, I think, one of my biggest sticking points lately because I've been doing more like character design stuff just for portfolio. It hasn't been as much of a problem because, I'm not doing like, scenes or anything just because
Sure.
I'm just trying to crank out as many things as possible. But I'm just looking for, anything that's like glaring that I would be like, this is what you need to work on because I'm applying to places, that I can find and just trying to get, that first job basically.
Sure. Well, a first art job. Yeah, I don't know if you're at a level where you're likely to find something that's like a concept artist job. You're like, one of the things that's working against you is that you have like a pretty narrow focus for your style, which is like a really big advantage in some ways and a disadvantage in others. Like, somebody would have to be making a project that needs like this kind of like spooky organic character design, and there's like not a ton of projects like that. And so in order for you to be able to get that gig, you need to be better than every other unemployed person at this one specific specialty, which is tough because it's like, no one's going to look at this portfolio and be like, let's get him for our gritty, realistic, tactical shooter, right?
Right.
As a specialist, I can tell you it's like it's still generally, to me, it seems like the strategy to go with if you're looking to build an art career so that you can create a recognizable brand and get people to hire you and stuff. It's just that, it also requires you to go really, really deep into your specialty in order to be competitive with it. And it's like, your work, I really love that you have like this really distinct voice that's like, it's very clear about what you want to make. But like on the technical side, it's just like it's not developed enough to get you to a competitive place yet. But you're not that far off from it. Like the kind of lighting and color that you're doing now reminds me of like the first couple of years where I was doing Angelarium. But it wasn't until like a full revision of those designs like 2 years later that I like felt like I was really able to like capture the attention that I wanted and like be able to like, negotiate for jobs and things. And so you might be a year or two off from that in terms of building up those skills. So I just recommend that you keep making as much as you can. I really like looking through these. I really like your sketch more than I like the final design. It feels like you've made some pretty heavy revisions between like the sketch and the final, which is fine. Like I always make like a ton of changes myself, but like what I would recommend is like I would make sure that you're not pushing forward with a sketch just because you think it's a good sketch. I would push forward with a sketch when you think that it's a thing that you know how to finish. Like if you look at this and say, this is so obvious how I would color and light this. Like I already can imagine myself coloring and lighting all this stuff. I know exactly where everything's going to be. And if you don't feel that way, you're ending up like sort of sandblasting out a lot of your ideas. Like, you've already started to take out the face here. I mean, you've got a really clear shape happening with like the chest, and you're starting to fill that out. And I think this is probably my favorite moment on this first work in progress here. And then like the kind of shape around the head, I think is coming together in a kind of a cool way. But by the time you get here, you have like largely painted out a lot of the sort of sculpting that you're doing here, and then you've changed and then you've moved far enough away from the sketch where the structure of the sketch is no longer helping to create a space for you to add like volume and lighting and texture on top of it. It's like there's a advantage and disadvantage when you start making these big changes. The advantage is that you might like the new idea a bit better, but when the disadvantage is that when you start repainting things from scratch, like over the top of a drawing and doing a big revision on them, you lose a certain amount of the like the elegance and like the like gesture of the original sketch. Like the structure of it starts to fall apart. It's a lot harder to maintain a coherent sense of structure, like starting from blobs of color. And it's, to me, a lot easier to maintain structure when you're just like working it out in this very organic way, with the pencil. So I would say if you want to make those make whatever revisions you feel like you need here at this stage instead of like here at this stage. And you're going to find that these steps are going to go a lot faster, and you're going to like where it ends up in the end a lot more, I think.
Okay.
When it comes to lighting, like, I mean, I've been doing, I learned lighting just by doing like a few dozen of these, like just doing these kinds of drawings and like looking at your pieces and deciding what parts you're not satisfied with and doing the appropriate research to figure out what do I need to do to move up past that point. You can learn that way. I've been sort of interested in the idea of sort of doing studies with, the express purpose of learning very specific things. So it might be worthwhile for you to do either some master studies or find some photos to do studies from that contain the kind of like lighting and atmosphere that you want to create in your own paintings, and do some copies of those in between your paintings. So like, one painting that's like from scratch, and then do another one that's a study with the intent of sort of like figuring out like how are the values being structured, what's going on with the color. Like you have these lingering questions after you finish a painting that you're like, this is as good as I can do, but it's not where I want it to be. You should be left with this sense of curiosity of like, how do you get it to like feel like the background's going way into the distance, and like how do you get it so that the character's silhouette remains strong, when there's not a lot of different colors to draw from. And like with that curiosity, when you go and do the studies, you're going to start feeling like the studies are answering questions for you. And you'll go, oh, okay, that's what you do. Oh, that's what's going on. And so as you get those revelations, you then fold that into your next piece. And so you just keep this process going of making new stuff for yourself and then seeking out solutions to these answers, rather than like, it's good to like get a second opinion. I mean, I'm really happy to do portfolio reviews, but I think that the learning that you want to get is not going to be in some sort of like educational session where you get feedback from a professional or you find a tutorial online. The answers you're looking for are going to be inside the work process as you like this curiosity bubbles up to the surface and you have all these questions about why your thing isn't working, and then you go and find those answers visually. Like the answers are in the reference folder. It's a matter of creating the context to make sure that that reference ultimately answers, like gives you that information in a format where it's digestible to you. So it's like it's really a personal journey that you're going to discover this stuff on, rather than finding secret information out there in the world from educational sources. I know it's like kind of a strange claim, because I know there's like a lot of focus on like people taking classes and learning things and seeking advice from experts. But like that's one of the things about art is like the thinking is visual and not like not necessarily in the form of words. And so it's the sort of thing that you need to see for yourself rather than to have explained to you. So give that process a try, see how it goes for the next couple of months, and then see see if you start getting some really interesting results, like let me know how it goes. Like keep popping in on the community and like keep in touch about it, because I'm really curious to see how you advance with this, because you have such a strong vision for your work. I believe that if you put these repetitions in, that you're going to end up making something that is like really a really unique look that is different from everybody else. Like it's going to be really cool.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. All right, so I am going to then pick the next person to come up. I'm going to try to rattle through a few of these, so we don't. The maximum number of people get to participate. Omega, you're in the mix. We've talked about your work all the time. There's a bunch of community members that I talk to all the time because they just hang out while I'm working. And so if you want to hang out and chit chat with me, I'm here every single day. So just come and hang out in the server, and you'll see me blow in and out all the time. I'm trying to figure out, who do I pick here. There's people I know. Gonzo. I like this preview thumbnail a lot. Is Gonzo here? I'm looking for the raised. No, doesn't look like it. Damn. How about you, Ace? I know you're around all the time, but I'm never looking at your work. Place. So, Red Coyote, if you want to just drop down, or I can kick you out if you want.
Yeah, I don't know how to pick myself out.
Okay. Let's see. I'm actually not sure how to. Let's see. Where's the button? Oh, okay. Hey, Ace, how's it going?
Hello. What's up?
Let's see. Let me find the link to your thing. You said you submitted, right?
Yeah, I could.
I'm looking through here. Ace. Where's your dang submission? Oh, there it is.
Dude,
Instagram.
look for it.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So you've been doing, I've seen your studies recently, and they've been banging.
Thanks.
Especially considering, okay, so wait. How far back are we here? 13 weeks, so a year ago. So is this you a year ago, your best effort?
Yeah.
And then this is now 1 year later.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that a
Not
little
really.
bit?
Yeah, sure. Not really 1 year, since I have school and kind of like I'm gonna turn.
Oh, I
junior
just
now in
realized
high school.
Gonzo, you're up next, by the way. All right, sorry, go ahead.
What? Okay, I thought you were gonna kick me out.
No.
Yeah, since I'm still in high school right now, could only like do it throughout the end of like the school year.
Mhm.
So I've been like.
What school year?
So
Where are
I've
you
been
in?
only,
Where are you in
like-
school?
Yeah, I am in school right now.
How far along are you in school? What? Are you in college?
I just finished freshman year in high school.
Freshman year, so you're coming into sophomore year in high school.
Yeah,
You're so far ahead of where I was at your age. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, continue. What were you saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could, and I've been only doing studies since then. I've kind of like put up a small little plan for myself to study, and been doing that and painting every week. I've only got really consistent throughout past like 2 months with the dailies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, back before that, I've only like been doing a painting every week.
So I'm looking through your studies from 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, and they're pretty rough. And then like, it feels like you have a jump like around here. Is this Laura Palmer or is this? And this is from just 3 weeks ago. So a few weeks difference, and then you start really kicking it up a notch. What happened? Did you?
It
did-
happened that I realized that I have really bad edge control, and somebody really Stevie really helped me with that. You talked to him, right?
Who's that?
Stevie, that guy.
Uh-huh.
But anyways, like he really pointed out that a lot of people pointed it out throughout all these months. So I really had to,
So someone said your edge control is bad, and you went, "Oh, good point," and then decided to get good at edge control. Is that is that the narrative?
Yeah, that is how it went.
Come on, no way. You just, I mean, from my perspective,
Yeah.
it's like I get that, like maybe you just decided like you needed to spend more time on it, that you just needed to be more serious, that you could do it, but it just feels like you gave yourself permission to do it differently rather than it being a real insight. I mean,
Yeah.
am I right? Am I like semi-right? Like, what, from your perspective, is
No,
it
you
really
are-
that like you just started giving yourself permission to try harder at this, or is that like really an insight?
At first it was an insight, but then as the time went by, I did not allow myself to use an airbrush. I was like, no, you will really mess this up. You will be like just have no edges, and I'll be horrible, and then taking myself down. So yeah.
Okay, so you started working with some different brushes. Yes. Ace, are you there? What happened? You've gone silent. Did I lose connection?
I'm back.
Welcome back. So did you start using different brushes or something? Uh-oh. Well, it seems like...
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, are you here for good?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you start using different brushes or something? Is that what you're saying?
I just allowed myself to use an airbrush and have like easy edges because I did not allow myself to do that back then.
Oh, okay. Airbrush. What do you mean by airbrush? Do you just mean like because I don't see you using like a soft edge brush.
Like, I kind of try to go softly with it, but I don't really use an airbrush that much. I would only use it like for the minusculest of things,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, pretty much.
Have you
I
heard
won't
my
use-
whole lecture on the type of brush that I use?
No, because I don't watch videos of brushes.
Oh, okay, great.
I-
All right, well, let me show you what I do about edges, because this is a solvable problem, right? Okay, so my default brush, I need to give it a better name. It's like on my tool presets here is 8010, which is just the opacity and flow of a round brush. So the way my basic brush is really easy. It's like it's a size flow, so it's size pressure. So the pressure gives it different sizes, right? And then if we turn it all the way up to 100%, you can see it's just like a regular hard round brush, right? The only real difference inside the settings is that the spacing is turned down to about 5%. And that's like, instead of brush strokes being spread out so that they create that kind of scalloped pattern, when it's turned down, they get really, really close together to make a smoother brush stroke. Right? So spacing's turned down. I use a size flow rather than the opacity flow, just because like this allows me to maintain a pretty light touch, and it also allows me to have a difference between like smaller and I can get these kind of tapered marks, which are good, but it also I'm not inclined to have to press really hard in order to get like a full mark. I can keep it like pretty sensitive. So the big innovation here is that it's set down to about 80% opacity, which is like nothing crazy, right? It's like mostly opaque, but you can still see a little bit underneath it. And then 10% flow. And the difference here is this. When you see the brush stroke going, if we go up and down, you can see we get soft edges at the top and bottom, and we go to side, we get soft edges at the left and right? Because as the brush stroke is beginning and ending, you can see how it fades in and out. If we have the flow up at 100%, we don't get that. We get solid brush stroke all the way through. So it's not a matter of it being...
Oh, by the way, you're not streaming.
Am I not streaming? Oh, shit!
Yeah.
I'm not streaming to the lecture hall. Okay. I'm doing this on Twitch. So Twitch people can see what I'm talking about. I'm going to push this up right now. Okay. So I've just been gesturing the screen the whole fucking time. That's awesome. All right. So I have my size... I have my size flow brush here. So this is it at 100%, right? One solid stroke. At 10% flow, this is what it looks like. So it's not just that it's like lower opacity, because it can actually get the same opacity from a single stroke if I go back and forth a little bit. So it can provide the exact same color, but I end up with these softer terminals. Like it starts and ends in softer places, right? So what that allows me to do is if I wanted to, say, soften up an edge over here, I can turn the opacity down a little bit, but I can, if I brush so that the brush strokes are ending, like along this line, if I just go this way, I can make a softer edge with the same brush. But if I wanted to carve it up, I can turn the opacity up and I can run along this way and it'll carve a hard edge. So without having to switch between like air brushes and harder brushes, I'm able to actually like get like really, really soft edge work and really, really hard edge work all out of the exact same brush. So that's like the edge, that's like my edge secret. And like, naturally, and like it's basically the same thing for this sponge brush that I have that I was using earlier on this. It does the same thing where like you can see how it like the terminals of the stroke get crunchy and start to fade out, while the strokes that run laterally along an edge will like give it a nice hard edge. While if I do this way, I can end up with like a softer, crunchier look. And so that's like a super, super fast way to like, without having to switch through a bunch of tools and move back and forth, like I'm able to like really, really quickly like go through and work on those things that you were thinking about. Because like when I'm looking at I know everyone in the chat can see this. Like in this case, I see you controlling edges really, really nicely, and it's really beautiful. And then looking back just a little bit, we see everything is like got these chunky hard edges to it. And when I see that, I don't see that you're doing something wrong. It's not that you're like failing to give yourself permission or whatever. It really just looks to me like, hey, if you were to like adjust the parameters on your brush a little bit, you would start to be able to control hard and soft edges naturally, as opposed to having to like fight it and really consider it. And I mean, in this case, like you are having softer edges and harder ones, but it seems like so much more labored because like you're having to like go in and really, really manually scrub a lot to start to get those smoother areas. And it's like, you just don't want to always commit to like putting in a ton of work just to like smooth things out. And so maybe the chunkiness is an asset, maybe it's not, and as it all feels a little unintentional, that's the real problem. It's not a matter of it being like, hey, like a mixture of hard and soft edges is just visually good. It is visually good to some degree, but the main thing that's visually good is like seeing that the artist was working intentionally. So if we can see that your hard edges are hard on purpose and your soft edges are soft on purpose, and that everything in between is all being controlled, as long as it's a dynamic mix of different amount of like types of edges and values, like we get the sense that none of them happened on accident. And in that intentionality, we see the artist at work. That's the thing that we're looking for. So I really like brushes and tools that naturally show the artist's hand, because like I think the thing that's ultimately most appealing about a work of art is being able to see the artist through the work, more so than just some, like if you want an aesthetic arrangement of pixels, you can just have an AI do it, right? But we don't get satisfied by AI work the same way we do with human-made stuff, because the end result was never a hyper aesthetic image. The end result was to see the aesthetic of the artist behind the work. And the humanity of it is like really, really important. So with that being said, I love that you've gotten so far with these studies at such a young age. I would love to see you mix in some imaginative work to try to apply what you're doing, because you have done some imaginative work in the past. Stay out of the study hole. Don't just like only do studies and feel like someday when you're good enough you can do imaginative work. This stuff needs to get applied, and like the more you can mix back and forth between applying the work and studying it, like the better it's going to be. Like you're going to learn faster, and you're going that learning is going to be applied somewhere in specific. It's going to make a big difference to you. So I know you want to make sure you're always impressing with your next thing, and it's like scary to go and try to do something you're not as good at and thus feel like you're taking a step back, but that's not the point. Like just assume that making bad work is the point rather than making good work, and you'll be in a much more comfortable position, because if you were to try to draw something entirely from your imagination right now, you can guaranteed that you're going to feel worse about it than you're going to feel about this study. And that's the point. You want to be making bad work. Like we want to put real emotional value on working in a way that's going to give us bad results, because otherwise it's going to constantly scare us away from it. Like so see what happens. Like I think even if you can commit to making something that you're going to be weaker at, like it's going to in moments be very uncomfortable, but in other moments it's going to be super satisfying, because you're going to push past places that you were stuck at before, and you are going to see the progress from the studies that you've been doing, and you're going to feel it, and that's going to feel so good. But you're not going to get that sensation unless you push past like your concern and like and you're like worry that you're going to look foolish or whatever. Screw it. Sound good? Oh, we lost him again. All right. Thanks so much. It's been great to have you around, and I can't believe that you're progressing with this so fast since I just met you. So I can't even imagine what your work's going to look like by the time you graduate from high school if you keep this pace up. It's going to be incredible. All right. So I'm pull up Gonzo, and I'm going to kick you out. All right, wait, there I go. All right, Gonzo. Hello, Gonzo.
Hello, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on? Let me
How you doing,
let me
man?
pull up your portfolio now. Let's see.
Yeah, go
Gotta find
ahead.
the thing.
Just a heads up. The last piece I uploaded, like right when I uploaded that, I started working pretty much just like full time. So I have like a year now since I started working, and like I can't show nothing. It's super outdated.
I call it the NDA hole.
Yeah,
like you go down into the NDA hole, and then no one ever sees you ever again.
Oh man, it's terrible. Like I really want to show people the stuff that I've been doing, especially because it's like a lot of like production work that's like super, 3D modeling and all that stuff. But I can't show it, so hopefully I can one day. I'll show it to you in private later on if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see it. Here's the thing. I think you should be working on personal projects nights and weekends. Like, I know that's like a big ask, but like if you have the capacity for it, like I really think you should, because like if you've been working professionally a lot and like especially with like new work methods and tools and stuff, I'll tell you, I've been in situations where I'm theoretically not allowed to show anything from like 4 years at a time because of NDAs. Like if the project doesn't come out, like theoretically everything that you've done during that time is just going into a hole and it's never coming out again. So like in order to maintain like a sort of professional relevancy, as well as to like, share your work with people and like continue to be in people's eyes, like you like basically have to work nights and weekends on your own stuff. Thankfully though, like you just get to make whatever you feel like, and you get to make the coolest possible idea you can come up with no concern whatsoever for whether or not it serves the project you're on. Like it's a time of experiment, and like it gives you the ability to like just really be playful with your work. So it shouldn't be like an extra job. It should really be like a time of celebration. And I don't know. I see so much fun in your work. I think that I think you would be able to do that, unless you like have a lot going on. Like,
I'm right now. I'm like really busy with work. Especially since you start working 9 to 5, and you have to like go to the gym and like go out with your friends usually at nights and weekends.
But you're not coming
like,
home and
going out
taking
with my
care
friends.
of like a family member who has like a terminal illness or anything. Okay.
No.
When I say
absolutely
like,
not. So I
do you have a lot
couple
going
hours
on? It's
straight.
like, are you having to relocate countries because of a major family crisis? Are is somebody else's major medical needs impacting your ability to work? Things like that. Like, I don't ever want to like speak callously about, just put more time into it, because there's plenty of occasions where I'm talking to somebody where that is their situation. You are just wanting to have some downtime from work, which is fine. I'm just saying, like, I think that you having some personal project time is the potential to be downtime, as so long as it's not butting up against, taking your wife to chemo or whatever. It's like, if you're like, I may not be able to go out for drinks as much because I'll be home drawing. I'm like, give me a fucking break.
Yeah, no, I really try to make myself go out with friends sometimes, because you really are like focused in art, and you're all doing like art all the time. So I think I was going through like a really like bad emotional mood time when I started working full time, because I never had time to go out with friends. So I just started going out more with friends, but I stopped like doing personal work. You know what I mean? So
I think there's a way of balancing it, and like, you should be taking care of your health, go to the gym, all that kind of stuff. It's just figure out a point in the day where you can set aside an hour or two on a regular basis to make it like a serious thing, because like living in that NDA hole is potentially like really hazardous. Like, I know plenty of people who they're growing like crazy. They're like they're building a following. They get like one job, and then it's like lights out for like 2 or 3 years, and then they come back and they're like, what did I do? Where did I go? I have nothing to show for it. Like, what happened? And I'm not saying that's the situation you're going to be in, but it's the situation that plenty of people find themselves in. So like, just, make sure that you are always producing things that you love and that you own. It will serve you in the long run. It's a long-term investment, to do that kind of shit.
It absolutely is, man.
Do you have anything you want to ask me about your work? Like, what's on your mind related to it in relation to art and stuff?
So, as I can't show you like the new stuff just yet, at least publicly, I would just like to, hear what you think about, the stuff that I've done. What do you think about my render capabilities, my design capabilities? I can't show you much more production stuff, but I really like to. But you're
a good designer, and in your rendering's good too. I don't know. What do you want to know?
I don't know, anything. Any tips you want to give me, man? Any insight is amazing, and especially because I've been a huge fan of you, man, since like forever.
Well, thank you.
You're a legend. You're a hero, right? I'm meeting my hero right now.
All right.
Anything you have to say, it's freaking awesome.
This is one of those situations where it's just like, you're doing something that's like different than what I would make, and I think you're doing a great job with it. I don't see anything that's like, I have like a bunch of like prepared complaints about people's art that I see all the time, that I always complain about, and I don't see it here. I mean, it's like, I'm sure if we were to like, it's just one of those things where if we were to hang out a bunch and I were to know you and your art more, I might have some insight, but as far as snap judgment goes, I don't see anything that's like jumping out at me that's like a serious issue for like, it's like, if you wanted to try to impress the pants off of somebody who is like super famous in the entertainment industry, maybe like the rendering on this is a little light, but like, honestly, I don't care. And like, for the purpose of working in a professional environment, I don't think you would ever need to go further than this. So I'm always kind of annoyed that like the standard feels like to take things to like this kind of hyper real finish.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who it's for, other than it's like part of a kind of professional circle jerk where everyone's trying to one up each other. You in some of these you're going a little further on it. Like with this guy, you've got this smoother, shinier rendering technique. It looks like you're working differently, like you're working with your line art differently. Your rendering process is different. It's like, it's not like it's necessarily better or worse. It just feels like a different style with different intent to me. But I mean, I like this look, like, because I think it sidesteps some of that hyper real, like, desire to see things rendered to hyper real, just because it's rendered in a stylized way that is brings a lot of smoothness out, for all this hard surface stuff. So, if you were to keep working like this and you were to clean up like some of the realism on your lighting just a little bit, like, you would sidestep all that annoying, like, nitpicking that someone might give you on trying to, render this style more deeply.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like, it might not even be a matter of like, hey, let's just assume you're going to take what you're currently doing and go 20% further with it, because sidestepping into a different work process for a different style is also entirely valid and may end up negating all that criticism in the beginning. So it really has to do with like what your overall intent is with the work. Some of the artists I know that are like top designers working for the biggest projects do not go much further than like flat colors with a little bit of shading. If you can keep the process to make it look like it is an intentional stylization, to keep things generally flat the way you have here with like the really flat colors with the spot highlights, it nicely sidesteps that like sense of finish issue by just like, again, moving into a style that everything feels like it's there on purpose. And yeah, so it feels like you have a few different styles that you're trying to finish things in.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have like that line art because I really love doing line art. I fucking like I could spend hours just working on line art, right?
Okay.
But I also have tried to develop my rendering like way further, and that's what I've usually been doing nowadays, but I can't freaking show it because I'm at the NDA.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Well,
but I do have two types of finishing stuff, which one is for like, something that takes a little more time to create, something that's going to be, we have to explore textures, we have to explore lighting or how some sort of surface is going to look. So usually I spend more time in that. But when my art director is like, hey, we need this simple asset to be put in like this level we're doing super quick, I don't even bother with rendering, honestly.
Yeah, you just do flats. And then
Exactly.
I'm just talking about portfolio because it's like, portfolio is a different world because it's not actually being used for anything in particular. It's for proving a point. It's like you're having an argument with somebody, like, who's good at this and, what can I do? And it's like you're having a bit of you're trying to make a convincing argument rather than actually trying to like be useful. So it's like, I think that if there's a style you have for creating a rendered look that allows you to still maintain your focus on line art, like, I would do it. Just because, like, if you're able to accomplish everything you want as a designer in line art, then the shortest path you have to being able to, like, put that forward in a way that feels tight and finished is the best possible solution. Because you should just be spending the majority of your time focused on your strengths and building up your strengths rather than worrying about being good at every single sub-discipline that's like adjacent to what you're already doing. Like, it seems like, if you need to paint the hell out of something, you can, but like the balance in your portfolio leans so far away from like painted landscapes and towards like stylized characters with like a stylized finish that I wouldn't get too up in your own head about doing a ton of painting. I don't think it's that big of an asset for you. It feels like it potentially could be a huge distraction that keeps you away from, like, because if you're going to spend a bunch of time, nights and weekends, like I'm saying, building portfolio pieces, I don't think you should be building portfolio pieces that represent the things that you're worst at. I think you should be making portfolio pieces that represent what you're best at. And that means awesome line art, stylized characters, cool IP ideas, and then like finishing it with a really simplistic color style that allows you to show off cool color palettes, pieces that feel totally finished, but without you having to spend, all of the time that you should be, chilling out after work, like rendering the hell out of something for no client.
Yeah, man. That's great advice, actually. Sometimes I just like set up that bar high, like, I want to make this look insane, right?
Yeah.
But I do remember the days when I was just like a student, and I think the first 2 years of just drawing, I never even touched values. I just did like pure perspective and anatomy and structure. So I'm in love with the process of just creating line art and just simple colors and simple values. But I'm so used to like trying to push so hard on how something can look really cool and really finished that I set that bar so high that even if I'm working on personal projects, I get distracted.
Yeah, and it's going to stand in the way of you doing these personal projects and doing the part that's like most fun. Like, if I'm going to ask you to work nights and weekends on personal stuff, I don't mean for you to like put yourself like start setting aside a time to like flagellate yourself and like punish yourself for being bad at like painting clouds or whatever. It's like the point is for you to be spending time taking your ideas that have been running through your head that you're excited about and building them out as big and as boldly as possible in like the shortest possible route without getting sidetracked on a bunch of dumb bullshit that's like a sort of side interest or like a matter of like proving something to someone. I just want you to be like showing the world like what is the thing that you love doing the most and what you're best at, and like building a ton more of that so that you can populate your art station with it and your social media and all that, and be able to like get attention and respect from it that you're going to be able to use to pivot into future jobs and like any other commercial opportunities you have as an artist. Because like the opportunities you're going to have in the future are more likely to come from personal projects than they are from you sharing portfolio work from past commercial work. Like in most cases, even with artists that are fully committed to like studio work, it is like personal projects that get them their next studio job rather than their like work from their previous studio. Like in some cases, it's like from networking. Like, I mean, anybody who you're working with now who knows what you're able to do based off of your professional, your studio work, that can add up. But like, if you're going to be starting to work with somebody new, and there's no connections at all, like their interest in you is going to come from your personal projects. Even if you have the stuff that's sliding out of NDA, I swear to you, it's like it almost always comes back to personal projects when it comes to impressing people. So like, don't let that go just because you've got a good thing going right now. This is like a time to double down on your personal work. And I think you make it a priority and you start to really like fall in love with the time you're spending doing it, you are going to produce more of it nights and weekends while you're employed than you did back when you were unemployed. I've known plenty of people that like opened up a sort of new wing on their career as like a nights and weekends thing while they had a full-time job and like family and kids and all that. And they ended up producing more personal work during a time when they had less time, just because of like how much more meaningful it was when they no longer had the pressure of like it being their primary thing for work and for money. And so I think that you're in that opportunity right now if you want to take advantage of it.
Absolutely, man. I will.
All right,
Thank
great.
you so much for the advice, Peter.
No,
I'll send you some stuff that I've done that I can't publicly show. So you can
I always like seeing art, so I'm open to it, but maybe you should stop saying that in public, that you're breaking NDA.
Nobody heard anything. Nobody said
anything. It
anything.
says live on Twitch right now.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, Peter.
Yeah, thank you for coming up. Let's see. Who else do we have in the queue? Let me see who's got their hand up. My Discord just shows people's names with like ellipses next to them, which is really annoying. So I like don't even know what people's names are. I'm scrolling through here. Molly Cooper, you got your hand up. Let me pull you up on stage to get into the lecture hall here. Hello. I can't see your username.
Hi. Oh, my username is Toilet Eye, but you can just call me Molly if you'd like. It's wonderful to meet you.
Hey, it's nice to meet you too.
Yeah, I'm a little bit new to the server, but it's been like a really great experience so far. Everyone is so nice.
Yeah, it's been a good group. I've been really happy with who's showed up so far. So, I'm looking through your portfolio, and it reminds me of the kinds of work that I see coming out of the Viz Dev department over at Ringling.
Really?
Uh-huh. What's your background?
I'm VizDev, but I went to SCAD.
Oh, okay. The arch nemesis of Ringling.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. How recently did you graduate from SCAD?
I graduated maybe 2 years ago.
Okay. How those last 2 years
So-
been?
They've been pretty okay. I got my first art job. It's like theme park design, so like I'm doing concept art for like theme parks and attractions,
Awesome.
which is nice. It's just not animation, and
Yeah.
animation is where my heart lies, you know. But I did just finish up art directing my first feature film. It was like only 4 minutes, but it was still really fun.
Wow. Was that where was that you got to direct a short film?
It was for a full-length film, but like it was only a 4 minute segment, and I'm not allowed to say quite yet.
Oh, okay.
But it has been announced. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. That's really cool. So, what do you want to know?
I want to know, like, I'm in this spot where I'm trying to, because like back in school, I was like, I thought I was the best, you know, like the best of the best, and I had that toxic mindset. And now I'm
Well, you're
really
going to
trying
SCAD,
humble
where
myself.
SCAD is such a huge school, and there's so many people in the department. I'm assuming there's like a decent amount of people who are tryhards, but they're not very good.
Yeah, they'll accept anyone with money. That's the toxic part about it.
Uh-huh.
So that's why I have that mindset. It's not my fault. But anyways, I'm in the spot where I just want to keep learning and growing. I want to humble myself, and I want to just know how I can continue on this path of getting better and better.
Yeah, I mean, VizDev is one of those things that like I have a hard time qualifying the work because I've seen a lot of it, but I've never taught VizDev. I've never worked in a industry where they call it VizDev. And like, you know, I know people that work in the animation industry, but I don't know that much about how it's different from something like the game industry.
Right.
So it's always
not just like sorry.
I always feel a little bit shy about making too many bold statements when it comes to work that's aimed at an industry that I don't know very well.
Yeah, I guess I'm talking more about like art in general because I love art. I love drawing.
Mhm.
So I've been doing like daily studies. I've been doing daily paintings. I've been doing like anatomy sketches. But I wonder if I'm just like going around in circles. You know, like I feel like if I keep doing this, I'll have to hit a point at some point where I just explode. Yeah.
Explode? What do you mean?
I feel like a lot of artists, they'll be at this point where they do their dailies, they do their sketches, they do their paintings, and then at one point they just are immensely better.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe it's more gradual. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think there's moments where like there is like a moment of insight where you just go like, oh wait, edges. I get it. I haven't cared about edges, and then now I see why people care about them, and I understand what tools I can use to like really control them. And then you can really quickly like once you identify where the problem is and what resources can solve it, then you can really really quickly make huge progress on like one specific aspect of art. And so I think you can see somebody will have a breakthrough like that. The other way that I see people have breakthroughs is like when I've done mentoring, I try to get artists who are working with me to make way, way too much art.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about people who are doing personal projects, commercial work, dailies, all that kind of stuff. And then they have this big breakthrough. And what I've seen out of people having breakthroughs is it's not a matter of them learning new things in some cases, but actually letting go of baggage, where like they insist on wanting to do something in their work that they didn't actually know that well and they didn't care about, but they felt obligated to add it in anyway. And then when they let go of that, it released more space for them to focus on the things they actually did care about. And by like, it wasn't really so much a matter of them learning something new as it was like them taking all of these sort of disparate energies and focusing them down into like a more focused and like coordinated effort. And it's like what I see out of a lot of VizDev portfolios is a lot of stuff that feels very, very speculative. It's not like when I see a lot of illustration portfolios, the contest is always like, who can make like the illustration that best represents their own personal taste. While with VizDev stuff, because it's so commercially focused, there's a lot of like, I need to prove I can do this style for these kind of studios and this kind of style for these kind of studios. And so we have like rendered rocks in one section, and then we have, the very flat, simplified characters here. And then we have a more rendered kind of like character design thing happening here. And it feels like you're trying to do a bunch of different styles and then you've got character and environment and sketchbook and life drawing, and like you're trying to do everything. And like you probably have seen some peers who are out there who it seems like they can do everything because they've got great character designs and they're creating these key shots of these scenes with the characters in them, and all their environment work is brilliant and their characters are so expressive, and you're like, I need to be able to do everything. But the revelations often come from like you have a strong grounding in a lot of stuff and you cut 50% of it to focus on the things that really matter to you. And in doing so, you just get to double the amount of energy and focus you have into those things that you have the greatest amount of insight in anyway. And you can see how that can become incredibly powerful. To be able to take more of your time, more of your attention, and focus it on the places where you already have the greatest strengths, you have the potential to like magnify that a lot. And then, you're doing a really good job of building a context for all your work, where every single thing I click through here, it's not just like a JPEG that says like, I drew a pointy rock crystal thing. It's like, you're showing all the different possible options and alternate color palettes, and like, there's a sense that everything exists in a greater context of the work, which is good. But like, what if instead of a portfolio that was showing 12 different kind of styles and skills was like everything was woven together into one big tapestry, where you just had your personal identity as an artist was really clear, and everything in your characters, your environments, in your line art, in your colors, that all tied together into one unified vision of who Molly Cooper is. If you could do that, I think you would, your work would present stronger without you learning any new skills.
That sounds amazing, because I know a lot of really successful artists, they will be just so passionate about just one thing, and that will carry them throughout their career,
But like, it's not just like one thing. It's just like, it feels like you're trying on a lot of different personalities inside this portfolio, and you're trying out a lot of different skill sets, and you're showing like the work that's being done for very like hyper-specific jobs. Like, hey, here's assets that could be used in a mobile game. Like, you know what? If you're good at drawing environments, then somebody who needs art assets for a mobile game will hire you without you showing speculative assets for a mobile game. Like, I don't really like to see spec assets in student portfolios, but student portfolios feel often like they're primarily driven by spec assets, which I think is really counterproductive.
What do you mean by spec assets?
Well, it's like, this isn't an illustration you're doing because just for the sake of making the illustration. This looks like it's being done to show what you would be able to do in this case if you had gotten this assignment from an employer.
Oh, I see.
And it's like, I see a lot of the hallmark of student portfolios is always like, character orthographics, design sheets, stuff like this, which can be good in some cases to show your thinking. But if your portfolio is all spec work and it's all being spread out across different styles and different types of projects, it becomes a lot harder for somebody who's going to be looking at your portfolio to hire you to understand what they're likely to get when they do hire you.
Very true, yeah.
So when I've dealt with this problem in the past, sometimes you can get a lot of extra oomph for your work just by cutting out all the stuff that is like taking away from your primary focus and just removing it from the portfolio. And like you can have it in a secondary space. If some employer ever asks, hey, we're doing these kinds of this is an example asset for something we have in our game. Do you have anything like that? You'll have it on your hard drive, right? You're not going to erase it from existence. I think you need to create a more focused presentation for your portfolio. And I think that going forwards with any kind of personal projects that you make, I think that you should really just focus on the parts about that you love the most, and like use that time as like an escape away from the kind of like feeling of pressure to advance your career. Like use the time you're making art as an escape from the obligations of feeling like you need to, fit into a particular industry, and like have everything in your portfolio emanate from that mindset. And I think you'll probably like the results better. Like you'll know you're on the right track when you start feeling more excited to sit down and make art. Like it should feel less boring. It should feel more exciting. It should like rejuvenate you rather than burden you out if you're doing it exactly right. And so I would push towards that, and then edit the remaining work in your portfolio down to conform to that vision. And I think that you're going to start getting a stronger reaction from your portfolio. It sounds like you're already getting some traction. I just think like it still feels too much like a student portfolio, not enough like a professional portfolio to me.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely a different mindset than what I have been doing for the past, I don't know how many years, but I'm excited to try it out.
It's like, I see it all the time in Ringling students, this idea of like, I will do anything to be a professional. I'm willing to work any number of hours. I'm willing to get better than anyone. I'm willing to do whatever, like, learn whatever skills like are on the table. Like I will do it. I can do it. And just that like dominating mindset of like, I will be the best regardless of whatever it takes, the sort of Rocky montage mindset. And, it's like, there's a period of time where that's really, really productive because you need to learn a ton of skills in order to like work as a professional, regardless of whatever else you do. Like you need to actually be good at like drawing and painting and whatever. But there is a degree which it's basically impossible for someone over the course of like a 4-year degree plus the couple of years after college to get good at everything. It's just not an option. So like,
not realistic.
So that comes back to the idea of like, in a lot of cases when somebody is deeply overworked, I try to overwork them when I'm mentoring them specifically so they start taking shortcuts. Because it's when you start taking shortcuts and you cut out all the unnecessary steps and you cut out the work you don't really want to do because you don't have enough time to be able to like do the work that you really want to get done, you start making hard choices about what stays and what goes. And that oftentimes gives a lot of perspective to people about what they really want to make in their art, what their style is, and creates an example that they can then replicate over and over and over again to build their portfolio out. But you've been giving yourself so much latitude to keep experimenting and keep showing all these different skills and keep learning and growing, but you haven't yet made the really tough choice of like cutting, editing, focusing it down, and putting pressure on yourself to start creating a focused stream of attention rather than like committing to building this entire, galaxy of different skill sets.
Right.
And you're at that point where that needs to happen because you're not going to be getting to be like one of the best painters in the world and also one of the best character designers and also one of the best, environment artists. Like you're just you can't learn all those skills at the high enough level all simultaneously. You probably have most of the skills that you need in order to be able to like start accomplishing a lot of your professional goals, just so long as you can figure out what you keep and what you throw out.
Absolutely.
That's my professional opinion. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I can do maybe 2 more, I think. Let's see. Ooh, Carmine. Avocado, I saw you in chat. Got some studies. Let me Tarwo.
Hi. Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Great, man. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, sharing your stuff. So you got ArtStation here. You got some studies. You got a little bit of personal work.
Yeah.
What's going on with you?
So yeah, I'm actually studying at the moment digital illustration here in Naples.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would like to be one day is to become, a concept artist or a character designer mostly.
I'm gonna turn your mic up a little bit on my end. All right. So you're in school?
Yeah, at the moment, yes. Studying digital illustration. To take my last year next year.
All right. So you're getting up to the point where things are about to get scary.
Yeah, exactly. Don't remind me that.
I just want to make sure that, like, I'm always curious. Like, if somebody's coming up to like the end of their school, it's always like, okay, so are you freaked out yet or not? Like, as if they're not,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's.
I am.
If someone's not freaked out, that would worry me more than being freaked out. But
Yeah.
yeah, so you passed the test. You're not a total psycho.
No.
I mean, it seems like you're getting a lot of these basic skills down pretty well. Like, what do you have questions about?
Mostly, if the rendering was good enough. I know I still have a lot of work to do on my rendering, but I'm trying to find a middle ground between a realistic and a stylized rendering. Trying to go more or less along the lines of the stylized rendering with the line works in between.
Yeah, I mean, I like your drawings quite a bit. You have like a bunch of stuff here that looks like you're studying really hard on painting.
Mm-hmm.
But when I see your drawings, they just seem so much more like natural. And you're not showing a lot of it. Like, I'm seeing a lot of stuff that's studies on here.
I mean, I have a lot of sketches and a lot of line works and studies. Some not really rough, and I don't have them on the ArtStation.
Well, like,
But,
my favorite moments in here is like, where are we? One of these. All right. So we've got, it's like we have this thing here. We got this rough sketch. And I love the look of this, the kind of grimy look of it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about it. I think it looks really cool like this.
Yeah, I really like that one as well. Yeah.
And then you have this cleaned up line art that's like barely visible. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do a super clean silhouette, and then you got muddy painting on top of it. And I'm like, oh no, where did the thing go that I love so much like 10 seconds ago? It looks like you put a ton of work in to take a step backwards here.
Yeah.
And it's like, I see this happen over and over again, and it's like such a pain because it feels like there is a demand inside the concept art industry to do a certain type of painting as a finish. But I don't actually think it exists because I know plenty of artists who work primarily in pencil. I mean, professional concept artists, lead concept artists, widely renowned ones, biggest projects in the world, high in demand from Hollywood, Hollywood directors and top video game studios. They just work in pencil, right? Yeah. And so, I see over and over again aspiring artists who are creating really great looking drawings. Go, okay, that's enough drawing for me, and these drawings are so good. Like, this drawing is incredible. And then you're like, enough drawing for me. Time to do some bad painting.
Dang it. How can I improve on that? Tell me how can I
just
improve.
draw more. I mean, just go deeper into drawing, because it's not like you're the best drawer in the world, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
But your drawings are great. Like, I love the your mechanical design is really interesting and good. It looks like you're having a ton of fun with it. It's super clear. Like, I don't have any problems reading what's going on in here. Like, you've got some areas that are a little bit, like, unconfident and fiddly, maybe. But then over here, it's like, it's really crisp and clear. You're throwing in a little more shading than I think you even need in order to really fill this out. And I don't know. I mean, this looks really good. And then, but I don't see this is one of my favorite things in the whole portfolio. And yet, when I go to your thumbnails here, when I see this page, I don't see anything that looks anything like that.
Okay, I will switch it up. I promise. This will be the thumbnail.
Yeah, but like, like, I would like to see 10 of those up here. Like, I bet you probably have a bunch of drawings that you're hiding because you want to show, I'm good at painting. I need to be good at painting. I'm going to show my painting studies. I don't think you should be showing your studies. I think the studies, if they're useful for anything, are there to establish, like, let you experiment with styles. I like the dynamic line with the rendering on the inside. It's a cool look. All right, use it for a design. Come up with an original guy and do it in this style. I want to see you do this with some really simple color wash. Just a good. It doesn't need to be like it doesn't need to be a fully clean line art. Don't need to ink.
No, okay.
Don't do anything that looks like comic book inking. Don't get this clean. Yeah, probably cleaner than this, but rougher than this, which is why I'm saying this is interesting because it's a mixture of like tighter, cleaner lines like for the face, and then rougher, sketchier bits on things like clothing folds where it's nice to be expressive, but it's not so necessary to be clean because who cares. And then you throw some color washes over the top of this, and you're in amazing shape as far as expressing the design and showing it off in a way that looks really finished. Like, finding a way that allows you to do the things that you're really good at, but you don't waste time doing a bunch of stuff that you're doing out of obligation. That's where the magic happens. And, like, you have all these ideas that you want to try out. I would not be surprised if you just have buckets full of really cool sketches that you are hiding away because they're in black and white.
A lot of traditional sketches, yeah.
Traditional sketches too. Okay, great. Yeah. So
I like, three sketchbooks that I filled last year. It's cool.
All right, great.
Sketches,
pull some of your favorite sketches and then see if you can apply some of the really simple color and volume treatments that you've been doing in studies, and see if you can find like a super efficient way of bringing a pencil sketch that you love into a format that feels more like presentable and finished. But
yeah.
I also think you should figure out ways of highlighting your pencil sketching inside your concept portfolio, because it's like people love pencil sketches. And they're like, and they're really easy to do, and they're like, because all you need is a pencil and paper to do it. Like, you don't have to have like a really elaborate workstation set up. You don't need to like, make sure everything's charged or plugged in. It's like, you always have access to a pencil. And so if that's like your strongest tool, having a really strong tool that's also cheap and accessible is like a cheat code, right? Everybody else is stuck having to like be in exactly the right environment with exactly the right stuff in order to be their best self, and all you need to be is like have a comfortable place to sit down, and you're like you're in your most comfortable spot. That is absolutely a strength.
So basically, quick sketches, line art, and flat colors on the quick sketches I will do, right?
Yeah, or even quick bits of like like you haven't gone overboard with the rendering on like this piece, but you've built in a lot of volume and it's really expanded on the idea quite a bit. It's a very simple portrait, but you've finished it in a way that's sort of simple and elegant. Like, what's the simple, hyper efficient way that you can treat your sketches is a question I've got for you, having not actually seen them. But it's, I think, something that you should spend some time exploring, because it pivots off of like the studies that you're doing. Like, those should be there specifically to enable you to do the other stuff.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily see it here. I think it feels like you are more comfortable doing sci-fi stuff than fantasy.
Yeah, I am. But doing sci-fi stuff is I find it really hard that to come to a specific type of rendering at one point and going overboard with details compared to fantasy stuff in which you can be a little more simple. If you know what I mean.
Where's Brian Mattias? Yeah. There's somebody I used to work with who I think about all the time because he's done a shitload of work on like Star Wars and stuff.
Yeah.
Wait, Connor Dreest? Who's Connor Dreest? Brian Joseph? It looks like they're just imitating him. Where's Brian's actual stuff? There he is, Brian.
Oh, that was inspired, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Brian's done a bunch of work on a bunch of big projects, Mandalorian, whatnot, He and I used to work together back at Kabam. And, like, a lot of his Star Wars stuff, like, he has these, like, keyframes or whatever that are, like, really rendered. But there's, like, a lot of it that is... He's done a lot of it where it's, like, really, really flat.
Yeah.
Like... You can see, like, instead of going and rendering in all of these, like, folds and stuff, he's just got, like, a few, like, lasso cuts.
Yeah.
And, inside a production environment, that's basically all you need to do. And it's like, if there are certain disciplines inside the entertainment industry that, like, require you to get into, like, tons of lighting and materials and surface textures and painting and whatnot. But there are a lot of even really very highly prestigious jobs that require none of it. And you can see, like, how, like, simple of a finishing job a piece like this is. And this is for, some of the very top jobs in this industry. So, like, I think that if your design work is really good and you present it in a nice way that's, like clean, you don't need to worry about building all that up. Like, a really, really good sketch with really simple color and rendering that feels like it complements the drawing, and you could be an ArtStation hero.
Yeah.
Anybody can. It like, if you love drawing, focus on the drawing.
I will, man.
I feel like I give this advice out all the time. Like, I feel like there's this huge, like, push for everyone to want to do painting all the time. I love painting, and, like, I look forward to the painting part. But, like, I feel like there's, like, a huge number of people out there, like, that painting is not the number one thing they want to do, and they are just guilting themselves into doing it all the time because of stuff they see on, like, the front page of ArtStation. And I got to tell you, it's not necessary. It's not, like, a real thing.
I'll keep that in mind. Yes.
Yeah, just save the time. Like, don't beat yourself up over it.
I won't.
All right, great. Well, I'm gonna see if I can get one more in here before I need to go on to my next. I have to go into another room to the stream. So thank you so much for sharing your stuff.
Bye.
Bye. All right. I gotta try to match up. Let's see who. Looking through the portfolio submissions thing again really quick. See if I can match that up with somebody who has their hand raised, but I can't look at both of them at the same time. John Cambra, I'm gonna pull you up. So you're the next one in line. Your portfolio looks cool. Hey, how's it going?
Going good. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yep, you're coming through a little quiet, but I'm going to turn you up on my end. All right, man.
Now, is that any better?
Yeah. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. It's been a interesting experience today. I'm getting hounded by work and a small dog.
But you're like, I need to stay focused in case he picks me. This could be my moment.
Just really hoping for it.
Well, I don't think that I'm going to be able to tell you anything that's going to like completely change your perspective on art and life and stuff. But I am available to talk. What do you want to talk about? What's going on with you?
Well, I think the last couple of years, my art career has sort of been taking a jump on its own, I guess is the best way I can put it.
Oh, that's good.
I've been trying to sort of pick a direction and stick with that, and pretty consistently when I pick like a style and a direction, then the other one that I'm sort of also honing is the one that jumps to the front again. So like the one that you're looking at now, I was like, hey, I think I'm not really going to focus on paintings for a while. I'm just going to focus on like comic book stuff. And then I got a gallery reached out to me. It was like, hey, do you want to do a show? And so I was like, oh shit, I have to come up with a bunch of paintings. Like, okay. And then now that I sort of took the reins off the comic book stuff for a minute, I've recently started doing a actual comic book. And so I'm just like, I keep unfortunately jumping back and forth, but I'm trying to keep my work in sort of that middle ground of gross and sort of surreal, I guess is the best way to put it. But yeah, I don't know. I was honestly just sort of hoping to talk to you, I guess, to see what your overall thoughts were. I know that it's sort of a open-ended question, but I don't really have any specifics for you. I guess just trying to see if anything comes out at you that like I might be able to work on, or any suggestions that you might have.
Are you using AI as reference for this?
For this one, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I feel like it's like a very contentious subject right now, but also like I've looked at a lot of AI art. It doesn't look like it was done by an AI. It just has some of those notes. I was getting a similar sort of vibe from this thing, just like the sort of like twisted figures. It'd be like, man, if you managed to get to that without having an AI involved, that would be really impressive. Just because it's
this one was a unfortunate amount of hours in a pencil drawing.
Yeah, and then you've got the drawing of it, which it's like, for me, I think there's a lot of potential value in like having AI as like a reference material. Because it does all sorts of really weird, interesting stuff that like a human being rarely ever does. So it can be used as like a spice mixed in with a recipe, which seems like, the way that you're using it here. But I don't know. I mean, like with a piece like the recent ones that you're showing, like I've known people who have like really focused in on super atmospheric, surreal horror stuff, and then gone out to conventions and sold just very well with it. Like they've figured out the sort of marketing and presentation side of things, taken a body of work like that out on the road, and found people who are into it. There is a marketplace for people who like really weird, really gross stuff. But it's like a small enough market where it's really difficult to like build a social media presence with it. It's really difficult to like do online sales. You like have to go and find a place where there's a large concentration of them and like physically go there in order to turn it into like a regular income most of the time.
That's fair. I think that's probably why I spent so much time focusing more on like the comic approach to it, just because I was using that for like tabletop RPG content, and I feel like that was easier for me to produce, and that has a wider market, especially now. But I'm sort of constantly torn between the two.
I mean, with a comic too, like even going on the road, like does the comic live somewhere? Are you doing it for a publisher? Or are you like doing it as a webcomic? Like what's the deal?
It's basically we're doing like the character design phase right now. I'm like 2 or 3 weeks into the process. So,
okay. So you don't really have a comic. You have a aspiration for a comic at the moment.
Yeah, but I'm getting paid to do it. So
okay.
I feel like it's a little more real.
Who's paying you? Is this like a private thing? Is a publisher?
It's a private thing. Yeah, it's a writer that is taking advantage of the television writer strike and has a working relationship with a publisher. And so the two of them reached out to me and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna do this thing." And like the publisher happened to be one of my Instagram followers, and so it's been a whole wild ride.
That's an interesting connection. Yeah, usually when there's like a writer who's like, hey, let's do a comic, it's just somebody who's like maybe wrote one book for themselves or like aspires to someday write a novel for themselves, but like you're saying, it's like a working writer who actually has connections to a publisher, so it could be real. Yeah, I don't have any real contact with that. I've tried doing comics a couple of times early in my career, and I found it too hard because I had a really difficult time doing panel layouts and consistency, and my workflow was too complicated. So it took me too long to produce like painted panels, but also the painting in the panels looked like shit, even though they were mega time consuming. And so I was like, man, I suck at comics. I'm never going to do comics. Like, but yeah, I don't know. Like, plenty of people do them, and it's like total mystery to me how any comics ever get made, just because it seems like this like incredibly difficult and time-consuming confluence of multiple skills. So power to you if you can manage to get this thing done, because that to me seems like an incredible effort to accomplish it.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's probably similar to what you were talking about before, where it's just like you got to make those hard decisions, and you got to be able to be like, okay, what can I do that's fast?
Yeah, it's like the challenge isn't necessarily like, can I make a comic panel? The challenge is like, how do I make several hundred comic panels in a way that's going to like be repeatable and efficient, time efficient enough where like this can fit inside of a life and a career, which is, it's a different question. Like making one really good comic book panel is like doable given enough time. Making all the comic book panels for a 27-page like comic is like a totally different question. Yeah, and like working that out, working that process out to me feels like the primary challenge more so than executing on it, because like it's a lot of answering difficult questions and like learning specific skills and trying things out and experimenting and finding like what works for you personally. Because like I don't think you're going to do this the same way that Marvel would probably make a comic. Like pencil, inker, flat, and then digital color doesn't seem like the direction you're headed.
No, I think at this point I'm probably starting physical pages with like a pencil drawing, and then I'll probably bring them digital to ink them, something like that. But yeah, I was initially thinking that like, oh yeah, it'd be cool to paint everything, and then like when I started doing some of the character design, I've been like, no, there's no way in hell I'm gonna sit down and do that. So yeah, I think right now the style approach is sort of a in between of some of the RPG content I've done and the more recent paintings. So I'm hoping it comes across well.
Yeah, I mean, I could see something like this where it's like, pencil with like this sort of digital washes. Is this starting off as traditional pencil?
No, it's actually just I think I started with Procreate.
Okay,
This one.
so digital pencil with like a kind of grungy digital color wash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see something like this working, potentially. Is this what you were imagining?
Yeah, basically, this is sort of an older variation, but yeah, I was tapping into this and we're really trying to get like the point across. It might be a little bit simpler. I think it might be a little bit more like bolder lines and more, I guess just simple strokes. I think is probably the easiest way for me to try and do it. Just a little bit more expressive.
Yeah, I really like the looks. I really like the look on these two pieces. This is it's a cool look, and trying to extend this out to be full panels, to me still sounds difficult and confusing in a way that I don't know I would be able to reckon with personally. So good luck. I don't have any insight on solving this problem because it's a discipline that I have fully avoided over the last 20 years. But yeah, switching back and forth, and following, what's coming in the door and where your interests flow back and forth. I'm not going to advise you against that because it seems like it keeps leading you to finish work and get involved in things that you're excited about. I would never want to lean someone away from where their interest is authentically taking them. But yeah, it can be tough. If you're never quite fully establishing, what your brand is, what your workflow is, what your work looks like, and what people can expect from you, it can be really, really difficult to continue to like build on prior successes for future successes, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And like, that's I think what you're ultimately going to run into over time if you continue to like bounce back and forth. But I also think you're not going to find where you can dig in deep and establish like entrench those successes unless you experiment around to figure out what you want to dig in deep on. So long as you're continuing to feel like these experiments are like really fruitful to you, I think you should keep doing them. The comic thing is like definitely something to try out if you haven't dug deep on it before, like, and you want to like 31 drawings in 31 days, huh?
Yeah, I pushed myself last year for Inktober, and it turned into a whole thing.
It's such a big thing that ArtStation won't load it. Here we go. Oh yeah, these are cool. Holy shit.
Yes, some of these are better than others, but I think that was the whole point of the challenge, was just to get as much out as possible.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Is this also a situation where you're using AI reference at times?
Maybe for parts of it, but at this point it was a lot of like I was going through old sketches and I was like, what can I repurpose?
Aha, okay.
What is stuff
I'm
I
like,
can like redo?
There are so many ideas in here. I'm just like, it seems like a lot of ideas for 31 days.
Yeah. It was. I prepped for a good 2 to 3 weeks beforehand, and I was like,
okay.
What can I take and then like do another variation of or build on top of like an existing idea?
Interesting.
But, yeah.
Yeah. The kind of like super grungy analog look I think is really cool. If that's what you're planning on doing more of for the comic, it could be to try to make it feel like really grungy and analog could be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's outside. I have all these like flickerings of minor opinions, but I don't have anything really insightful to say about it because it's outside my like range of expertise. So I wish I had something more productive to be able to offer you, but unfortunately, I'm just gonna wish you good luck on that comic thing. It's gonna be sounds like it's gonna be a doozy, like trying to get it done.
I think so.
Any questions about like work process or whatever, time management, something that's more general that I might actually be able to have input on?
Time management actually might be a nice one, just because I've been struggling with that the last couple of weeks already. I'm unfortunately working full time, and I'm trying to take that to part time and be able to focus on art more. But it's been a bit of a process.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the question about time management is not like, hey, is there some life hack? Because life hacks are bullshit. Like it's always a matter of like what works given the context of your specific situation. So if you've got a full-time job, 9 to 5, that this exists in context of, like the question then becomes, are you going to become a night person or a morning person to like pack in these extra hours? For me, I'm like a pretty good morning person. So if I get pressed and I need to like really sprint on something, the strategy is like set the alarm for 5 a.m. and get like 3 hours of work done before anyone needs me at 8. And like those 3 hours a day can turn into like a whole other enterprise if I need it to. It can be a whole other job. If I'm efficient with my time and I'm focused and I reserve that time from 5 to 8, I can like basically take on a whole new set of tasks like that in the day. And then you put yourself together and you get your regular 9 to 5, and then you end up falling asleep at like 8 p.m. You just don't have a lot of bullshit in the evening if you end up taking that strategy. And then there's a lot of other artists I know that are night people, and their thing is like, okay, after dinner, they maybe have a little bit of time around their friends or family, and then it's like once everyone starts to get sleepy, that's when they go into like creativity mode, and they're up and they're working till late. And so they're still getting like a comparable amount of sleep, but they're always pushing it into the nighttime, which requires them. I mean, basically that requires you to like you have to be really mindful because you can't gamble on sleep for too long. So like if you have a job that has a little bit flexible on hours, or like you just need to know like where is the cutoff point where you absolutely need to be in bed so that you don't try to push the sleep window too tight for when your alarm goes off and you actually need to wake up for work.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because
it becomes more of a you can't coffee your way through the day.
No, you just can't. It's like you can for like a certain amount of time, but like personally, I'm really bad at that. Like I start to burn out after like one day of like not sleeping well, and so for me, it's like a strategy of like how do you preserve those sleep hours? How do you preserve a certain amount of buffer time between tasks or roles, like from job to home life to like work at home life, like requires a certain amount of gear changing that I always try to account for. And then like, depending on how hot you're running, you have a certain amount of time before you reach burnout and you lose the ability to keep going. And the goal is to never actually burn out. It's like you should be taking breaks prior to the point where you actually feel like burnout's coming on. And so I try to preserve weekends as much as possible in order to be able to like have real downtime that allows me to genuinely recharge for when I'm running at full speed during the work week. But I mean, that depends person to person. It's not good enough to just like feel like you should be working more. Like you need to get really strategic about where are you allocating resources, where are you allocating hours. And that's a personal question. So like I'm not saying that I'm not saying we don't have time to get into it, but like I want you to like think about where can you have a regular commitment of hours that you can then meter out reliably over the course of not only a single day but over the course of like consecutive weeks. What does this mean if this project is going to continue for 6 months or 9 months or a year? Because if you are just always looking for a free moment to be able to work on a side project, you are never going to get to it. And if you are trying to commit every bit of time that you're not at work to a side project, you are going to burn out. Like having specific times that these things happen on and specific days that they happen on, it can be really valuable, even if you're not the kind of person who puts together a calendar and schedules out every minute. I'm certainly not, but I do, I know where the gaps are in my day that I can take to work on personal projects or work on side stuff. And like when I'm not in those spots of time, I let them go and I don't stress out over them, because things get bad when I start stressing out about things that I feel like I should be working on, but I can't because I have other obligations. So like,
yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, the trick is making sure that you know when hours you can commit so that you can be uncommitted during all those other hours. Like you just don't ever get to double book yourself. You just have the same 24 hours as everybody else, and you need to take that with absolute seriousness if you want to be able to make it a long-term project. And comic books are a long-term project. So figure out where those hours slot, what days they slot into on the calendar, even if it means like getting a calendar and writing it up there. My recommendation is that you pick a method, try it out. If you fail to accomplish that method in like 30 days, scrap it, call it a failed experiment, try a different method. Like I feel like a lot of people like beat themselves up because they feel like their mindset is wrong, when in reality it's like it's not about like wanting stuff more, it's about strategic thinking. Like you need to be making consistent plans and trying to execute on them, and then taking the results of those experiments seriously, rather than just like feeling like you should be a better person or harder working or whatever other abstract idea. Like it really is going to come down to you being like kind of like a manager, like you just being a watchminder of yourself, and taking your own behavior into account. Like Just only committing to strategies that you've been able to prove to yourself that you can really execute on, and then ditching the ones that don't. Because different people have different levels to and times of day that they're able to commit to this kind of stuff. And so you'll see all kinds of weird strategies online, people talking about the things that work for them. Give them a shot, and then dump all the stuff that doesn't work for you, because it's just 90% of the stuff that's out there is not going to be for you, and it doesn't matter. It just, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then just call it a failure and move on. And that's what I got for today. I need to run right now, but thanks everyone who showed up, and I will be more attentive to when events are supposed to be happening on the server, so that I don't end up getting confused about when I'm doing things. But I'm going to go, I'm moving over to my other server, and so I'm shutting down the live stream, and I got to dump out of here. Thanks, everyone. I will see you around on the Huckleberry Discord server. Let me type the thing one more time into Twitch chat. There's the link. Thanks again to LA Nano for the Prime sub. I'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.